So are we about to finally find Gentry's mom? Hey everyone, welcome to Prince of the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Jentry Chau vs. the Underworld, episode 12, the penultimate episode of the season. Or possibly series. Again, don't know if we're getting anything more to this, don't know how this is even going to end, to see if it closes out on a satisfying way to where even if we don't get more, it'll work out. No clue. But we are definitely moving towards now the final battle with the Mogwai. We know that he's planning on using Gentry's father's ghost as leverage. Gentry's found out where her mother is, so she's going to be going after that. And yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. Things are definitely going to escalate quite a bit here. Honestly, I really don't know what to expect or how this is going to go, but I'm excited. I'm interested to see how this all works out. So let's just get into this. Let's not waste any time whatsoever. I don't really have anything else to say going in, so let's get into this and see what this episode has in store for us. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I just want to reiterate right off the bat that I don't blame Moonie for what she did here, because she wasn't really given a choice. Utilizing paying his spirit and everything as a hostage and threatening Moonie with basically constant living nightmares of watching Payne be horrifically tortured for all of eternity. I mean, I think pretty much anyone would be desperate enough to stop that. That's pretty reasonable. So I'm not even for a second blaming Moonie for making the deal here. I feel like it was... it's not the right thing to do, not by any means, but she didn't have a choice. There was nothing she could have done to stop that at that point. And considering, all she had already been going through emotionally after having reunited with Jentry and, having the issues with Flora and everything, it's yeah, she wasn't even in the best mental/emotional state as it was. She was extremely vulnerable to that kind of manipulation at the moment. And she tried to fight it. She tried to fight against it at first. Even in her desperation, she tried to stop it and say, I'll give you anything else. But the Mogwai wasn't going to settle for anything else. And unfortunately, she, again, had no choice in this. So, she's also now under control of the Mogwai and has impaled Gugu. I'm thinking in the final episode, Gugu is gonna, before she dies for good, I think she is gonna die for good. I think that's what this is setting up. I think she is going to finally make things right. Like, truly make things right. Because Gugu has not had that moment yet. I think she's going to make things right both for Gentry and for Moonie. She's going to do something that's going to redeem herself fully. I don't know what it is, but we're going to see that for sure. I'm like 90% confident on that. Um, but the lock in, I was definitely correct that that is going to be the source of everything happening. I definitely feel like we're going to see Michael use his powers at some point with this because I feel like he would be so underutilized if he didn't come into play during this, you know? It just feels like with his powers being such a notable like part of even the opening, that needs to come into play here. Um Stella's going to help as much as she can for sure. It would be really cool just seeing everyone there, everyone to lock in, team up to help. Just do what they can. That would be cool. I don't know what like a lot of them are going to be able to do, but you know, it's going to definitely be very intense. That much is for sure. And I'm I won't lie. I'm very concerned about Moonie. I don't think they'll take her away again. I don't think they'll actually kill her this time. The writers and everything. Because I feel like that would be way too traumatizing and way too fucked up for Gentry. Like that would be too much, I feel. I think Gugu will die for good. And again, I think she'll make good on her relationships with both Gentry and Moonie before that happens. Um but I think she will die for good. And considering she died like technically in the first episode, that was something that was already kind of set up, I feel. So that's not like dying twice in the same way. It's not like what it wouldn't feel as disrespectful as it would for like Moonie or something like that. Um it would be interesting if Pang got to like stay on Earth as in his ghost form and everything. That would be cool. But I'm not like holding my hopes for that really either. Um that would be cool though if they were able to make that happen. Now, with the rest of this episode before the ending stuff, and not like just theory crafting about what's going to happen in the finale, this episode, like showing the calm before the storm and showing Gentry, like, not only meet with her mother, but get to, like, fully spend time with her, getting to see how Moonie's life has, like, gone since everything, and finding out that Moonie Gentry recognizing Moonie was the cause of the Great Fire and everything. That like is really the inciting incident of the series in a way. It's like, oh, well, okay. It makes a lot of sense. Like it's very, it would be a very traumatic thing for a girl to see her mother, who she thought was dead. That would be very confusing and traumatic. And then, like, the fact that she had these powers forced in her to lose control of those, that's understandable and fair. Um, Now, Mooney is a character from what we're seeing here and everything. I like her because she has a very kind, gentle personality, except for those who she feels have wronged her greatly, like Gugu. And seeing her like connect with Gentry has been super cute. Um, I think Lucy Liu does a fantastic job, but Lucy Liu pretty much always does a fantastic job, so that's no surprise. And I'm just, I really want her and Gentry to have like the happy ending they deserve. because seeing like everything she went through without her memories and trying to reconnect with everything, finding out things basically secondhand. I just really hope things work out. And the entire conflict with Gugu and like Gentry leaving and all, like, even if I didn't think Gugu was gonna die, I think Gentry should leave. I'm fully on board with what Moonie was saying there. Gentry has been manipulated and controlled her entire life. She has had things forced on her that she should not have had forced on her. And you could argue, like, oh, but that's just childhood. And it's like, yes, but there's kind of a message in there, don't you think? Like, adults, parents specifically, focus on forcing a lot on their children growing up, whether it's ideals or beliefs or etc., etc., instead of letting those children discover things themselves. And yeah, parents definitely need to guide their children to some degree, for sure. But guiding a child and like forcing them to believe in stuff just because you believe in it are two very different things. You need to guide your child into making their own decisions, coming up with their own views, etc., etc. And yes, even if they differ from yours, as long as they're not views that hurt anyone, because that's obviously a different situation. If they're views that like actively like endanger or just, you know, are bigoted towards people or stuff like that's not okay. That's not something you could just let be. But you know what I mean. And that's the point. Gugu has forced Gentry to basically do as she says this entire her entire life, these 15 years. Gentry has never truly had a life of her own. The closest she did have was when she was in Seoul. When she was in Seoul, it was the closest thing she had to her own life. And that didn't even last, unfortunately. So her going back to Seoul with Moonie would make sense. It would be not only just generally logical, but it would make sense considering the context of everything. It's the one place where she truly got to be herself. And her and Moonie are already both interested in going. With Gugu more than likely dying, like for good, it would be also a good place for them to have a new start getting out of all of this. And this also brings up an interesting like thought too, because if that is the kind of direction this is going to be heading in, with like maybe Gentry losing the Yellow Emperor's powers for good, and her moving on to live a life with her mother, it's like, if it's done that way, I feel like that would be a very satisfying, conclusive ending that doesn't need a second season. And I've said this before, but not every show needs to go on for multiple seasons. Sometimes a show can be very limited. I mean, look at stuff like Over the Garden Wall. Over the Garden Wall does not need anything more to it. It's a single season limited series, and that's all it needs to be, because it's that good. And there's other shows that are limited series too that only have like 10 or so episodes. And yeah, there's some of these shows like, oh, you could see there being more. Like you could think of ideas for more, but they don't need more. It's not necessary. One of my favorite shows of all time is Carol and Tuesday. It's like 2 cours long, like 24 episodes. It's an anime series by Studio Bones and is amazing. It's phenomenal. And it wraps up its story. Like, yeah, there's more they could absolutely tell. There's 100% more they could go into with these characters, these stories, the concepts told within, the themes and messages. But they don't need to. It doesn't need more. Ending with just the single season, it's like, yeah, I would love more. But you almost kind of wonder if it would like hurt the series to add in more. You almost kind of wonder if having just this limited run is what makes it so special. And for stuff like Carol and Tuesday, I think that is part of it. And so, if Jentry Chau versus the Underworld does end in that kind of satisfying way, I don't think I'd necessarily want a second season. I wouldn't like be opposed if it did happen, but I feel like I would be satisfied and just okay with where this would leave off. Mind you, that's like implying that the finale here is going to be that satisfying and conclusive. I don't know. We'll have to see. It might leave some things hanging. It's possible. But either way, I'm just hoping that this finale ends up being really good. Because there's definitely a lot of setup for this, and it makes me really want to see how well it's able to wrap up in the end. It's one of those cases where it has the potential to be like to really nail this landing and to make it like as good as possible. Unlike some of these other shows out there where it's like it starts to fade in like the final season and then the finale just ends up being, bad or just not that great. Like not even all the time bad, fully bad, but ends up being like a letdown. And I don't want that. And I don't want a finale that's going to like leave me wanting it to be finished, I don't want like a glitch text finale or Dead End Paranormal Park where we're not going to get more, but they didn't finish the story. I would love it to be a conclusive ending, even if there is absolutely room for more. But we will have to wait until next week to find that out. And I feel like you're going to ask this because you always ask this, Venom. If you're wondering how I can wait, how I can hold on, and not just go right into the next episode, you ask this so often. It's because I have patience, and I believe that the next episode will hit harder with that wait. I've talked about it before. I don't like binging shows. I believe it actively hurts the overall value and entertainment of the show to binge it. I believe that all shows work better when you give time between episodes to really absorb information and context and really start to think about things. It allows for it to really just hit in the way that you need it to. I don't know how else to word it right now. But yeah, it's like that's why I'm not gonna just go right into the next one. Also, I don't have the next one downloaded, so I couldn't go into the next one right now. But yeah, I also just prefer to wait. I'm patient enough. I have other shows I can watch. I have other stuff on YouTube I can watch on my own time. I would rather wait and have it be the best experience possible. And to those who like to binge shows, by the way, I'm not saying like binging is inherently bad. Though it does provide legitimate issues for shows and has caused a lot of shows to fail. But if you like binging a show, you're allowed to like that. Just like I'm allowed to not like it. For me, it's just a personal thing on like, from my experience when I binge most shows, it tends to genuinely hurt the experience for me. Like with Stranger Things Season 2. I binged Stranger Things Season 2 in, I think, pretty much one sitting. And I regret the shit out of it because it destroyed my entertainment, my enjoyment of the season. And mind you, most people say that season 2 is the weakest season of Stranger Things anyway, but still, like, I really didn't like it. And it's because I binged it. It's because I didn't have a chance to really take anything in and absorb any information and really think about anything. But it's like other issues with this kind of thing as well. It's like binging show, like releasing shows in a binge model, like releasing the entire seasons at once and everything, destroys a show's like lasting impact. Shows have lasting impact when they have like weekly releases because it allows for the audience to discuss things. When you release the entire thing at once, they discuss it for maybe a week or two and then just move on and forget about it. But when you have the series going like for weeks at a time, months at a time, airing an episode a week, the audience gets to like spend each week continuously talking about it. That discussion lasts, and it allows it to truly feel like it's, like continuing forward. And it has a much more lasting impact as well after the show finishes. People tend to remember it better. This is just stuff that's been like noticed by others too. It's not just me. It's not just like a theory or something. People have like actively noticed this happening comparatively. And it's not always perfect. There's people who can remember everything really well when binging a series, and there's people who can watch a series weekly and not remember a lot at all. It's obviously on a person by person basis, but generally speaking, most examples I've seen and most examples a lot of people have like shared as well online have expressed that this is how it tends to go. Like a lot of this binge model has like hurt a lot of shows um that have been like come over, that like a lot of anime that have come over from Japan and stuff have been ruined by this, and just have never gained the audiences they needed because of it. Shows like Carol and Tuesday, like Great Pretender, like Dorohedoro, and even part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure all suffered greatly in terms of viewership and ratings and everything because of the batch releases. That's just fact. They have suffered in terms of their ratings and in terms of like the retention rate. Like what you think about this shows and everything is subjective, but it is just a fact that the shows didn't do as well as they were projected, as well as they were hoping to do. And like with JoJo, you can especially compare that to previous parts. It did really poorly compared to those, especially considering they released like it in 3 batches for part 6 of JoJo, Stone Ocean, and they released like the second part like I think it was over a year after they released the first one. And that wait alone made a lot of people lose interest. It destroyed the retention rate for the series. And then the third part ended up coming a lot quicker after the second part, but still. I think they realized how big of a mistake the break was. I think they realized how much it fucked over the retention rate and everything. But also just the batch release in general was what caused that issue in the first place. But anyway, we could like debate that entire thing forever. Um, the point like I'm trying to make with talking about all of that is I feel like watching Gentry Chau weekly as I have, and even taking a break at a point. Not like a full break, but you know what I mean. Um, we had a little bit of time off on the channel, just generally speaking. I think all of that has helped me appreciate this series more. Because if I had just binged this when it first came out back in December, I feel like I wouldn't even remember most of what happened in it right now. Like if I binged this all at once back in December, today, February 27th, I would probably not remember most of it. It wouldn't have stuck with me. But since I've watched it over all these weeks, I've had time to think about everything. I've had time to, really take in information. I've had time to just to have it retain in my mind. And it's I honestly just I do genuinely love this series. Um and now that we're going to be going into the final episode next week, I do want to give a just quick last thing before we finish off here. I want to like compare this to other shows that I've watched both on like Netflix and other places. Um in terms of like a lot of shows that I've seen from there, like this is not my favorite. I honestly, in terms of just Netflix shows alone, I think my favorite is still probably Centaur World. Um, and even then, I think I still also might like Glitch Text a little bit more. But I would put this probably like right up there in like the top rankings. I think it's kind of interchangeable maybe with Dead End Paranormal Park. Um, or no, maybe Dead End is above Glitch Text, and this would be more in the line with. This would be like in contention for third place. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I think Dead End I would put above Glitch Text, just because of the emotional and personal connections I have with that series. Yeah, I think I would put that above. So number one would still be Centaur World. Number two uh would be Dead End, and then number three would be kind of a mix between this or Glitch Text. And I think the final episode's going to kind of determine whether I like it more than Glitch Text or not, because again, Glitch Text had an inconclusive ending because it was canceled. If the ending for this is like satisfying on like the level of, I don't know, Hunter x Hunter ending, the 2011 anime ending with the chairman election arc, if the ending to this is as satisfying as that was, even with not being fully conclusive, I think I'll be satisfied with that. If it's like on that kind of level, I think I'll be good. But we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode, this penultimate episode of Jentry Chau versus the Underworld. And yeah, just no spoilers for the final one. No spoilers for the finale at all. I am going to take that very seriously right now, so do not spoil anything. That all being said, thank you as always so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.